Hi everybody, it's Benty Hansen and I'm back with my new favourite theme, embracing unity, and I'm hoping that I will be able to do a lot of videos on this because the subject is very broad and encompasses a lot of different concepts. Today I would like to focus on one single question, and that is, can one person make a difference in the world? Can one person change the world? Can you change the world? Can I? And if so, how and when? I don't have the answers, but let's see if we can explore this concept just a little bit, okay? As we look around the world right now, I'm sure you would agree, we've got turmoil, chaos, uncertainty, confusion, you name it. Things are no longer stable. The realities that we believed in are shifting rapidly. What to believe in, what not to believe in. We're riding blind. Many years ago, when I was channeling publicly, a number of things came through in the channelings. One of them being that there would be a massive shift on this planet. Consciousness for eons has been at what's called the 3D or third dimensional level. And that's what we have been operating on. But because Gaia, our precious Earth Mother, is going through a process of shifting to 5D, fifth dimension, many of us are also part of this process, and we too are shifting in our consciousness and awareness up to the fifth dimension. I won't be talking about the changes happening in Gaia today, but I can assure you they're happening. With the shift into 5D, it's a process. And I got the sense that it wasn't going to happen overnight. It may take up to a generation. And a generation is a long time, let's get real. But nevertheless, we are in the process of doing now. We are in the process with many of us choosing to shift and to be part of this amazing change, which has been heralded for eons. There will always be those who choose to remain in 3D, and that is their choice. However, right now, you and I and many others have an opportunity to be part of this process in how we handle ourselves, in how we support this shift, in how we embrace it and accelerate it. That's the power of us. And that's one of the reasons I'm talking at length about unifying rather than dividing. It's really important that we participate in this process actively and constructively. If you're looking at a timeline for this to happen, I will compare it with planting seeds. You put a seed in the ground, you wait for it to germinate. The conditions have to be right, warmth, water, sunshine, nutrients, all of that. In this instance, on this journey to 5D, I would say that the seed has germinated and there is growth spurting up. We haven't yet reached the full bloom or blossom stage. We're quite a ways away from it. But we can accelerate the process every day in our daily interactions, in the way we think, the way we respond. There are so many things that we can do. And what I thought I would do today is just mention a few historical figures who have changed the world, or whose actions and words have changed the world. Because each and every one of us is equally powerful. And each and every one of us has the ability to accelerate this process in a way that is less harmful and more helpful. So the first person I'm going to mention briefly is Mahatma Gandhi. And his story is well known, that his passive resistance protests changed the course of his country's history. His philosophy was one of do no harm. Do not sway from your convictions. Do not respond aggressively. Instead, remain steadfast in your ideals and in your knowing. And because of this philosophy and the combined actions that he took to ensure that everything remained peaceful, the outcome for his country was not a bloody clash. He changed the world. Not long ago, I also came across another incident in my research that demonstrates the power of passive resistance. In World War II, Germany invaded my home country, Denmark. They did this overnight, with no blood being shed. Denmark had its own military, and yet it was a very small military force. The King of Denmark at the time, and I have no idea of what his name was because I can't remember it. But anyway, the King of Denmark basically said to his people, do not resist. Instead, we will do this, this, and this. He laid out a plan very covertly. Germany was needing the ship works that Denmark has. They needed the Danish labour to build the big ships that they had plans for. And so deals were negotiated. The Danish people did not starve. They were not beaten, and they did not die the way countless others did during World War II. When the Germans demanded that the Star of David armband be put on all of the arms of Jewish people in the country, the king put an armband on his arm and also asked that all of his citizens in the country do the same. There was nothing the Germans could do. The outcome of World War II for Denmark was not as bloodied, was not as terrible as it was for many of its neighbouring countries. Now, I'm not saying that passive resistance is the only way to go, but I'm saying there are times when it's a very wise move and that there are dividends and positive outcomes that can be gained. But these are just two instances of two individuals whose actions and words helped change the world. Nelson Mandela is another individual whose words and actions had a massive impact. We all know what he said when he was released from imprisonment. We are all well aware that he could have come out vengeful, angry, and keen on retribution, but he didn't. Instead, he indicated there was no point in hanging on to those negative emotions that are soul-destroying. And those negative emotions really are about divisiveness, about separation, and they tend to involve hatred and anger. Now, there is one other individual in history who changed the world, and that was Hitler. and you may be surprised at what I'm going to share. Hitler loved to read philosophy, and he was a student of the fine arts. He read voraciously of Nietzsche's work, Schopenhauer, and many others. But his greatest contribution, and I say this sincerely, is that his actions drew worldwide attention to the inherent racism that exists right across this globe. He brought out into the open the extent to which racism has been rampant for decades and decades, if not millennia, I don't know. And then later on, of course, his work was followed by the good deeds of people like Martin Luther King. It seems that humanity needs lots of reminders about what's good behaviour and what's not so good. And I'm sure you'll agree with me on that. But you and I and all of us have the potential to make a real change in the world. So how are you going to do it? What options do you have and what choices do you make? Sometimes it's challenging to speak up. There are times it's not comfortable going against the grain and being different to other people. But there are lots of us in the world who are different. There are lots of us who are ready to speak up. There are many of us who know that we have to be true to whatever is in our hearts, and we need to follow it. Because in order to get to this fifth dimensional state of living, which is totally different to anything we have ever experienced previously, anyway, on this earth for us. But in order to get to this fifth dimensional state, we have to start thinking for ourselves and behaving in ways that reflect how we would like this world to be. Not how the world is, but how we like ourselves to manifest this fifth dimensional reality. How we see this potential for change. In other words, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. That's another Mahatma Gandhi saying. So I'm going to finish off today with a bit of a quote by Osho. And this is all about changing the world and fits in beautifully with this theme. Osho says, "There is no need for you to change the whole world. Just change yourself, and you have started changing the world, because you are part of the world. If even a single human being changes, that change will radiate to thousands and thousands of others. You will become a triggering point for a revolution which can give birth to a totally new kind of human being." Are you up to it? Are you ready to forge the way into a new reality in 5D? It's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to all of us to live the life that we aspire to. Bye for now.